Hey everybody, glad to be learning with you today as we begin our introduction to the 39 melachot, the activities that we can't do on Shabbat. Today we're going to take a look at two topics. The first is a look at what it means to actually do work on Shabbat. And the second is to identify the basis for where these 39 melachot come from in the first place. Why 39 and what's the point of these particular 39? First, a look back in time. In the times of the Mishkan, the Jewish people were responsible for collecting the raw materials that they would need to build the Mishkan. And once they had those raw materials, they would turn them over to a group of very talented workers. Some of them were stone cutters, others were sewers and weavers, and some of them were even spice makers. But the one thing that all of these different skilled workers had in common was that all of them, and all of these things that they did, had to do with something called melachot machshevet, something that we'll call creative design. What melachot machshevet means is that every step taken to build the Mishkan required skilled, intentional labor. In fact, the Talmud even says, as you can see on your screen, that the reason for the 39 melachot in particular was their connection to the building of the Mishkan. Each of these activities, in some way, shape, or form, had something to do with the building of the Mishkan itself. Well, here are some examples of these 39 melachot, and as you can see, there are actually, as the Mishnah says, 40 minus 1, and we'll look at why that strange description is offered, why the Mishnah doesn't simply say 39. But as you can see over here, a few examples of the 39 melachot include zorea on your right, which refers to any action that promotes plant growth. To the left is choresh, which is where you till the land, where you make the land ready for planting. Kotzer, which is on your right-hand side, refers to any act of cutting something from its life source, while ma'amer on your left is the act of bundling loose items together to form a single unit. And finally, borer on your right is where you sort wanted items from unwanted items, and miraked on your left refers to an act of straining something out of a can or a sieve. It's similar to borer, but different in a few different ways. The bottom line is that melachot machshevet teaches us that in order for someone to violate one of these melachot, he or she has to do something creative. Just as the Mishkan was made with creativity and skill, so are these particular items based on creativity and skill. If they don't have a creative goal, they don't qualify for the malacha. But we need to understand a little bit more about why there's 39 of these particular activities. I mean, certainly we can think of hundreds of creative activities. Why did only 39 of them make it onto this list? So one view is that these 39 melachot were all somehow connected to the baking of bread that was prepared in the Mishkan. And the first 11 of these melachot in particular were steps that were used to make the lechem hapanim, the 12 loaves that were placed on the shulchan for the kohanim to enjoy. Another understanding of these first melachot is that they had to do with field labor. They weren't necessarily for eating, as you can see here from this illustration of people shearing their sheep, but they were activities in the field that were done to just generally prepare one's field or one's animals for daily life. Remember that in the times of the Mishkan, the Jewish people worked in farms and in fields, and many of the activities that they performed were activities that were designed along these agricultural activities. So today we looked at a new definition of work. We saw that it isn't how much effort it takes, but instead how much creative potential you're bringing into the world. And then we looked at a few examples of these melachot to get a better sense of where the number 39 comes from. In future lessons, we're going to see some examples of the difference between an av malacha and a tolda. We'll learn those words, and we'll see how they help us decide what the law should be if someone accidentally violated any of these laws. Looking forward to continuing the learning with you when we return.